Joining us, award-winning investigative reporter John Sullivan, opinion contributor for The Hill. John, good to have you with us. Great reporting.
Great to be with you, Lou. Thank you.
As always. Let's start with first today, the reporting that Schiff and Reynolds were, Simpson were together in Aspen. How much should we make of it?
Well, if you remember a couple of years ago, Democrats made a very big point of the fact that Devin Nunes, exercising his normal oversight authority, went to the White House to get some facts, something we didn't see a lot in the hearing today. But he went to the White House to get some facts about unmasking, and then Adam Schiff called him on the carpet, said it was corrupt, it ruined the integrity of the investigation, forced Devin Nunes to go through an investigation, and temporarily recuse himself from the Russia probe. Well, now we have Adam Schiff engaging in the same behavior he was excoriating. He meets with Glenn Simpson, one of the most important fact witnesses of the entire Russia case. He's the intersection of the Clinton campaign and the Justice Department. Bruce Orr, Christopher Steele, Hillary Clinton, all connected through him. And he has his contact, and he doesn't tell the committee. So if it was good for the goose named Nunes, it should have been good for the gander named Schiff, and that didn't happen. He didn't notify the committee, and you're starting to hear Republicans raise heck about it.
Well, they're going to raise heck, but they've been doing that for really 2 years, and it never came close to raising hell, which is really what is necessary to defend this president and to defend truth itself. You were talking about Devin Nunes, who's, I think we all agree, a hero in this this sordid, monstrous witch hunt that's been conducted against the president. But we also have to bring into play the name Paul Ryan, because he is the one who played games with Schiff and let him drive that narrative in the face of evidence that Nunes had collected that substantiated his views and positions on the president throughout. Correct?
Listen, there was an evolution at the very end of Paul Ryan's tenure as Speaker. I think he very late in the process. I think at the beginning he thought Devin Nunes and Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows were off on some goose chase, and I think very late in the summer and into the fall, I know I talked to him about it. He told me directly for the first time he believed there were FISA abuses. He wasn't a believer in that, but as more and more evidence came through, as his lawmakers were more determined than he to get to the truth, he finally came around to that position.
Well, I am a trusting and open-hearted soul. I think that Paul Ryan was lying to you throughout, as he lied to his entire conference and to this president throughout. He betrayed them and, in my judgment, the country. There is no, to me, there is absolutely no excuse for his conduct and his willful betrayal of this president. Let's turn to further the idea that Special Counsel Mueller that you reported goes back to 2002 and the way in which he was acting without integrity and permitting those with him on his team to do so in flagrant violation of the regulations for FISA surveillance warrants.
Yeah. So this is a very important story for one reason. If you remember when Devin Nunes and Jordan and Meadows, all those guys started raising questions about the FISA, people like Rod Rosenstein and James Comey said, there can't be any abuses. There's such a process in place that catches everything. You don't appreciate how much work we put into it. Well, guess what? That process allowed 75 FISAs between 1999 and 2002 to be submitted to the FISA court with false, inaccurate, or omitted information. The very same allegation that we now see in the Carter Page FISA of 2016. So it really debunks a lot of those the trust us concerns, trust the process concerns. Those processes only work if people tell the truth in those documents. There's a pattern in practice before 2016 of that going on during Director Mueller's term as FBI director. And now there's that same pattern in practice in the Carter Page FISA. And that's what should concern all of us. Listen, Donald Trump's a very powerful man, but what about all the people who don't have his lawyers, don't have the congressional oversight? This could be going on daily to everyday Americans. That's why it's so important to stay focused on it.
Without question. And indeed, with a president who is being subverted by that very process and becomes the first president, to our knowledge, to ever be spied upon by his own national security agencies, including that, of course, of the FBI.
Right.
Do you think that there will ever be any accounting for those abuses?
Yeah, I think the first thing that's happening, and there's a very big moment this week, and I know you've seized on it, but not many people have. Richard Burr, Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman, came out and said what Devin Nunes said a year ago. 2 separate committees, 2 different chambers. There is no evidence of collusion. Getting that off the table allows Washington, official Washington, to begin to focus now on, well, how did we get that narrative? Who made that false story? What went on? What abuses occurred in the FBI? And I think that moment, that tipping point has arrived. And I think with the Inspector General's report coming out soon and a new sheriff in town named Bill Barr, the new Attorney General, I think you'll see some real accountability in 2019. I'm hearing a lot of things behind the scenes of that accountability beginning to set up.
Well, it would be a wonderful thing to behold and to witness. You mentioned the narrative that has been driven here. One of those people obviously driving it was the ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Richard Burr, sitting right next to him, and that's Senator Mark Warner. His role in all of this is complex and I think deserves great examination. Do you agree?
I agree. If you remember back in the summer, I had a story where Mark Warner was secretly communicating from before a lawyer with a Russian guy named Waldman, back channel, trying to get information back and forth to the FBI director. Very weird behavior, just like the weird behavior we see with Adam Schiff not having a radar and not staying away from Glenn Simpson at Aspen. I think the big problem for Warner and Schiff is when all these facts come out and the president declassifies all those documents, and I know he will. Their statements of the last 2 years are going to be compared to the final facts of the Mueller investigation and the declassified documents. And I think some people are going to have some serious explaining to do.
Right. Even a few members of the Lilliputian radical Dems on the House Judiciary Committee, they've got some explaining to do as well, I think. And certainly their performance today, one would think, would require an apology. John Solomon, you get the last word here.
Well, I was going to say, I just talked to someone as was coming in the building here that, there's a fine line between oversight and overreach, and I think you saw that line get crossed a few times in the hearing today. We did get some useful information, but we saw a lot of bad behavior. That's not the behavior that American public wants. They want to see what President Trump did on the State of the Union address, act like an adult.